Alright, let's talk about Yellow Submarine soundtrack. Yeah, so there was a Beatles cartoon which I missed when it was first shown. However, they reran some of the early episodes when I was about 17. They reran them on my local station, and it was just the early songs, which I didn't like as much as their later ones. I didn't realize until YouTube that it ran a lot longer than that. And in fact, I've seen a bit of a YouTube video for Tomorrow Never Knows. That's how long it ran. And the Beatles were under contract to make, I forget how many movies, but I think it was 4. And they'd only made 2. Maybe it was 5. They'd only made 3. And so I had to make another one, and it was decided they'd make it as the Beatles didn't want to do it, so they decided to do it as an animated cartoon. And they decided to get the team that made the Beatles cartoon to do the Beatles Yellow Submarine movie. And which the Beatles were really upset about, but they let it happen anyway. And so they produced this soundtrack. So let's take a look at what all's in here. Okay, so it starts off with Yellow Submarine from the Revolver album. And that's, of course, you'd expect that to be on here. And the next song is, so it starts off with Yellow Submarine, and the next song is Only a Northern Song, which George wrote for. Yellow Submarine was written by John and sung by Ringo. Only a Northern Song was written by George, sung by him. It was originally written for Sgt. Pepper as a protest song against Northern Songs Limited, which owned the rights to Lennon and McCartney songs and somehow got hold of the rights to Harrison songs. But in 1968, he broke away from that and formed his own record music publishing company. Anyway, that's followed by all of them together singing All Together Now. Yeah, great song. And they repeat it again at the end of the film. And then that's followed by Hey Bulldog, which was not in the American version of the film when it first came out, which was a huge disappointment to me that there was no video for Hey Bulldog in the movie. Turned out that there was, they just cut it out, and it's been restored in more recent prints of the movie. And then that's followed by another George song, It's All Too Much. And I don't know if that was written for Sgt. Pepper or not. It owes a lot more to Jimi Hendrix than does Sgt. Pepper. And finally it ends with All You Need Is Love, which it's a different version of the one on Magical Mystery Tour. It's a few seconds shorter. I'm not sure which version made it onto the single. The song was originally on a single. They put it on Magical Mystery Tour and get on here, but it's a different version. So we want to make this very clear for you young whippersnappers who were introduced to this in the form of a CD, that when it was an album, if you wanted to hear side 2, you had to flip it over. Let's move that over a little bit. Okay, so side 2 is all orchestral music written by George Martin. It starts with Pepperland, which I used for the first room of Wild Space when I ran that. And then there's a medley, Sea of Time and Sea of Holes, and then the Sea of Monsters, and then March of the Meanies, which I used on I recorded a bunch of times on cassette and played that for the big fight scene on Wild Space. And then there's Pepperland Laid Waste. And finally, Yellow Submarine in Pepperland, which is credited to being written by Lennon and McCartney, because it's Yellow Submarine with an orchestra. And so that's Yellow Submarine. It's basically half an album of Beatles songs, the other half orchestral music. And the Beatles songs are pretty good. You know, all together now, and All You Need Is Love, it's two of their best songs ever. The others are good songs. Even It's Only a Northern Song is a good, despite it being a protest song, it still has a good melody, and they put an effort into playing it right. It's not just singing Mary Had a Little Lamb into the microphone or turning on the amplifiers and walking away for an hour like certain other artists have done. So even when he's protesting, George put the effort in. So check it out. Yellow Submarine.